A lot of you know me from TikTok, or familiar with me from TikTok. I talk about a lot of subjects in relation to the Black community or relative to the Black community. And for some reason, you guys like me and would like to follow me. So, in any event, I started to do this with, I came to the conclusion to do this with one of my mentees, Solomon Tate. Solomon is a very solid young man, a very smart young man, a very well rounded young man, which is why I chose to do this with him. We're also bringing a young lady in by the name of Casey. Okay. My name is Juan Reed. I'm going to make my introduction. My name is Juan Reed. I'm a successful guy from Houston, Texas. I say that for a reason because I believe that the conclusion to all the experiences of my life should lead to some form of success. Uh, and hopefully the benefits and residuals of that is money, right? Now, you guys got to give us an opportunity to troubleshoot this. We're not familiar yet with the podcast, even though I'm very familiar with TikTok. It's different. It's a lot of moving parts. But again, my success comes through construction, development. I built hotels and schools, hospitals, etc. I was the first African American in the Houston area, or in Texas, actually, to build a football stadium and also to build a hospital. Okay, I was part of a company called Hallmark Capital Group. Right, I say that for a reason because I've been a lot of things. I've been a religious fanatic. I've been homeless. Um, I've been extremely successful. I built a company along with another gentleman with $150 million in revenue. We're the largest Black-owned construction company in Houston, Texas. Let me tell you what the community REIT is. Community REIT is 40,000 people that are coming together to start a real estate investment trust that'll eventually build hotels and resorts all over the world. And so this was a brainchild, essentially, of mine that Solomon has joined and a lot of other my mentees and 30-some thousand other people to uh, build the monolithic group of Black-owned middle class and allow us the opportunities that we missed trying to be involved in other communities. Okay, this is not a prejudice show. This is not a racist show. This is a podcast about the development of Black people, right? So we're going to talk about the psyche of Black people. We're going to talk about how religion has pulled us down. We're going to talk about the different directives and initiatives that we have as a group planned for you guys. And I think it'll be a very successful podcast. So I'm going to stop talking for a second, and I'm going to allow my friend, Mr. Page, to talk a little bit. Go ahead, Solomon.
Well, first things first, Mr. Reed. Thank you for having me on. It is a
Yep.
pleasure to hear you talk about the community REIT and introduce yourself. A lot of people have heard you. Unlike myself, I've listened to your lives on TikTok and kind of be blessed to be your mentee. And today we're sitting here bringing forth this podcast to discuss the community REIT and how Black people, as a general, not like you've mentioned, not to be on a racist or to make it racial, but people in our community to see how we can build something on our own. A little background about myself. I'm well into strategic growth. That's what my education was about, strategic leadership. So I see this as a good opportunity for me to be a part of, for me to contribute into the growing of the community, the growing of the Black community as a whole. Most people talk about giving back. I don't see this as giving back. I see this as setting the foundation that we can set to grow to a point where our giving back would be when we've become a bigger community and other communities are looking to be a part of us. And we've reached out and touched so many lives that it'll be a success story unlike any other thing else. So I'm happy to be a part of this podcast. I'm happy of where we're going. I'm happy of the progress we've made with the community read, and I'm looking forward to how we can grow and touch some more lives.
Well, so very,
You
very
know,
well said. And I did, Solomon, you can pick up your check later. Thank you for the kind words to help my mentorship. Uh, it has been, we're going to talk about several things. So just allow us to go.
yeah.
And Solomon, I know you have your questions. I'm going to have to pull them up. But let me first of all start by saying this. I'm currently writing a book, and it's named From Poverty to Purpose. And there are several other books named Poverty to Purpose. Um, yeah, I'm not saying this, and Solomon knows this to be true about me. I am really, really, really uh, enthusiastic when it comes to helping Black people. Okay, almost to the point of an obsession. And one of my, I'll tell you what happened. I tell you guys I've done very well in life, and what's happened is I've had people on TikTok approach me about working with me. There was a particular gentleman who's helping me write the book, and I'll say his name, Marcel. Marcel basically negotiated with me to help me write the book or to edit my book in order to be mentored. And so it's to see somebody to see the evolution in Solomon's life, to see the evolution in Marcel's life, and 155 other people is amazing. Because I'm going to be honest, you begin to think what you're talking about as you get older is just talk, right? Or what I like to call frames in life. You know, in frames in life, we have different frames in life. And in my book, it almost brings tears to my eyes to see all these stages come together and to see what God has done in my life from where I was. Um, to see myself homeless, you got to realize was something that I never expected, but was absolutely my fault. Absolutely. And Solomon has heard me say this a lot of times. You know, I I, I can diagnose it later from the trauma of religion, but I was an active participant in all the money I spent. We're going to talk about, we're going to break me down, and we're going to break each other down. And our goal is not to just talk about the community REIT as a as the conclusion, which it is, or the tool that'll be used for our community success, but to talk about or to diagnose ourselves, and hopefully you'll see yourself in us and have the ability to be helped through watching us. You know, to me, it's always better. What do you think, Solomon? It's always better to see people live instead of seeing someone after they've achieved success in something. What do you think?
Correct. So, while you were, speaking, I'm sitting here thinking. There's a saying that I've heard that if you do not learn from your mistakes or learn from yourself, you're you can be labeled quote unquote a fool. But if you can't learn from other people, you're point blank an idiot. I'm not calling anybody an idiot, but you know, we get where I'm going with that. I think it's very
Yes.
important to watch somebody start from a particular stage in their life, and over a given period of time, they show some type of evolution. Because as human beings, we need to grow.
That's
We're
right.
subject to grow, and if you're not growing, then there's a whole bunch of questions that needs to be asked. Growth is paramount. Like you've measured, you've said over 10 years. I have it where every year I do a end of year meeting by myself where I sit back, excuse me, I sit back and I evaluate the past 12 months, and I look at what could it be done, what could I have done better, what are some of the things that I've grown from, what are some of the things that I've learned. It could be relationships, it could be finances, it could be just having friends, anything that has to do with me growing. I have to sit back and evaluate and see how that can be better going into this next season into my life.
How
And
beneficial has a
I,
relationship with God been for you in your life?
it has been. I'm gonna give credit to your mentorship program. It has been tremendous. It's brought me so much peace over these last couple of months that I've been under your mentorship that I hadn't had before. We have this thing where we get, like you said, we get arrogant and we start to think that we could do everything ourselves, or everything that happens in our life we go to the extreme to take credit of it, but we fail to understand that we're just a tool that God is using for us to do all of these things that we need to do and achieve in
Right.
our lives.
That's
But
right.
we go past that and we underestimate the power of the power of God, and we
That's right.
take those credit every single
So,
time, and it
and
keeps
notice
me
something I
humble.
want to ask. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt
No, I was just getting ready to say that it keeps me humble because when I think about it, that I'm like, yeah, I have to be mindful that I'm just a tool that God is using to even touch somebody else's life.
That's right. I want to ask you a question. Tell the people about the community. Tell the people about the community.
So, Community Read, as Mr. Reed has laid the foundation, I came in after people had put out requests for him to get started with something for our community. And when I joined his TikTok lives and I got to see he was talking about us growing and coming together and building something for ourselves. And I haven't said this to you yet, but this came to me when I recently just came back from Africa. And when I was there, only thing I kept thinking about was the community read because traveling to these black countries, predominantly black countries and communities, you see that we don't have anything for ourselves.
Mhm.
We don't have anything. We look at success as something foreign. You know, we look at people achieving.
Oh,
Matter of fact,
that's
yeah,
deep,
we
man.
look at success as something foreign. Yeah, and I'll even go as far as saying this: if I were to pull up right now with a nice car. I'm dressed a certain type of way. I smell a certain type of way. I have a certain type of swag to me, and I pull up to a predominantly black neighborhood. They'll look at me and go, "Oh, he must be a drug dealer." They'll look at
Yeah.
me and go, "He must be a scammer or a rapper or this, that, and so on and so forth." But we fail to understand that black people on the whole, we have so much potential that we can be more than just those things. We can come together and build our community to have things like the community REIT that we can also pass down to our generations. And we would literally not have to be stuck with paying student loans.
Hmm.
We would not be struggling to have to pay for medical bills. We would not be struggling to have to pay even to afford housing communities because we have our own something that we can build upon. When I got to Africa, I got to the airport. So from here to Africa, I flew from here to France and from France to Africa. When I got there, and I looked at the difference in the environment, even airports. You know, predominantly black countries, we don't have a good airport. You know, little things, hospitals, we don't have those things. We don't have a hotel where you can go back and relax and go, you know what, I'm around my people. We should have a hotel that we can all, stay in and have a good time. We can host conferences, we can host events, we can have, even here in the United States, I personally don't know of a predominantly black hotel or black center where I can go right now to rent out to host an event.
And you're in
We don't
DC.
have those things. We always have,
And you're in
and
DC.
I'm in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
We always have to rely on other communities to do the things that we want to do, and that's a huge handicap for us because we can't grow if we don't have anything on our own. Which is why I subscribed into the idea of the community read, and I'm excited to say that I like the progress we've made all up until this point, and I'm looking forward to how we can how we can bring solution to some of those things for us. I'm talking about schools. I'm talking about hospitals. I'm talking about hotels. I'm talking about just black communities where we can rent to predominantly black people. We don't have to. We don't always have to look forward to the government to provide us with vouchers so we can go live in Section 8. You know,
Mm.
like we're not on that level. We've as black people we've survived. Now I don't want to say thrive or survive. We've pushed so much to a point where we have so much to give, but we give it out to other people and we fail to put that into
Oh,
ourselves to
wow.
develop, to grow, and to set ourselves up. You know, I say this all the time. I'm a I wasn't born here. I was born in Cameroon, but my parents have been here for such a long time. They also fall in the community where they didn't build anything for us. I don't have anything that I grew up to and be like, you know what, my parents, they set this up for me to grow into and take that and run with it. So I want to be a part of the community read because I want to build something that my children, they're going to grow up and be a part of it automatically. They don't have to start from zero. I started from zero. I don't want them to grow up and start from zero and have to go through the struggles of being homeless and have to go through the struggles of trying to figure out where the next meal is going to come from. Because now when all these other different communities are put in place, we're all not starting at the same starting point. They're
Yeah.
starting here. People of my kind, we're starting here. Now we have to play catch up to get here. By the time we get here, these other communities, they've made it, they're light years ahead of us.
Yes.
But we don't have nothing to show. We're waiting for them to, pass things over to attach ourselves to their success stories. You know.
I'm going to define a little bit what the community REIT is. I'm going to find out where it started. Okay, guy, I'll tell you. I got started on TikTok and never even knew what TikTok was. I was told by my friend that you're wise, you need to go on TikTok. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Actually, I think she was just tired of me talking to her. And so I went on TikTok and I started talking. Before you know it, I had almost 1 million followers. Okay. I would even go on there live. I couldn't get live and didn't even know what live was. I would just go on there and comment about things, right? And people like my comments, my statements. I never talk about I never talk about popular news. I never talk unless it applies to us, right? Most of the issues I discussed were black issues. And what happened, I built so much notoriety that literally I had 7,000 to 8,000 people in my inbox. I mean, this is me going back and looking. And so um, they were asking me a multitude of things. Will you mentor me? Why don't you go live? Why don't you do all of this stuff? And then I got all these comments about doing business with them. I'm like, man, I'm not doing business with you. I'm doing, you know, you don't just do business with people you don't know. But I got so many from so many comprehensive, educated people. I said, hold on a second, this might be something. And I am not a time waster. I'm not a time waster. So I wasn't on there to chase women. I wasn't on there for a lot of the normal purposes people go on there to popularize themselves. I was going on there to educate. People were getting educated. And so they asked me, hey, want to do business with us? Do business with us, Mr. Reed. How can I do this? How can I? So I came up with the concept of something that I was already doing in the first place as a developer. I came up with the community REIT. That was the name of it. Okay. Actually, Solomon coined the name. That was just what I was calling it. Right. So thank Solomon for that. And so the community REIT was something birthed, I believe, from God. And I don't say that as somebody trying to get your money. Everybody knows me because uh, I had 10,000 people offer me money, and I had one guy offered me 10 grand online, but another person sent me $5,000. I sent it right back. I don't want your money. I want to educate you. So what the community REIT is this: it is in definition 40,000 investors investing $500 in a community REIT that is essentially a development company that develops high end resorts and hospitality assets, first in the United States and then all over the world. The projection is to grow the company from a $200 million line of credit to a $3.7 billion asset in 7 years. That's the goal. Okay. A REIT, if you guys don't know it, and I'm gonna make it simple for you, is a bank. A real estate investment trust is a bank, right? A trust is always a bank. It's always something that holds assets, right? So a real estate trust is the same thing. So what we're doing is we are identifying 40,000 initial investors. All of the initial investors we want to be black. Now, after that, because obviously, look, let me go back a little bit. Normally, when you grow a company that fast and that big, there are at least three levels of major investment. Okay, there's a startup investment, which is what we're doing right now. There's a second level, mid-range investment, a couple of $1 million. And then there's the big boys, private equity. Okay, that's when they come in and the other major investors and family houses, etc., and say, look, we want to be involved in this. Now, it is not legal for us to say who can invest, or say that white guys can invest, Hispanics can invest, whomever, Asians, whoever, right? That's legal. And that's we don't want to stop anybody from that vantage point anyway. But the initial perspective is all startup investors. Because what are you doing there? The first thing you're doing is you're leveraging a company and raising $20 million. Now, some of you don't understand how hard that is. It's very hard. But I'm going to be honest with you. With the interest I've garnered from this, I've garnered almost 10,000 people already. I think it's a lot less hard. I think a lot of it has to do with notoriety. A lot of it has to do with trust. Let me give you an example. I told you guys earlier that we originally had 7,000 people offering us the $500 initial investment. I turned it down. Now, if I had that to do over, I probably would have set up the original processes that we have right now then, but I wasn't that prepared. Um, Now we are, okay? We've set it up because I wanted to be, and this is always a goal of mine, and I've always known this. I've had investors before, big time investors. The most investment I've had is almost $2 million. Okay, that's the largest one time investment I've had. You never touch an investor's money. Specifically, if you're a partner in the company or even the major stakeholder, or as I am, the major stockholder and the proxy, it's my job to take money. Proxy doesn't touch money. A proxy set up is and stands between two organizations. That's what the proxy does. So that's who I am. So when you guys are looking at me, I have 36 years in development and construction. So I have that background and I worked in construction 15 years. I built the largest, again, black owned construction company in Houston. We were supposed to be in Black Enterprise, but the company went under the following year and I had to start another company, eventually sold. So that's a bit of my background. I've done construction work for RLJ Development, which is a hospitality development REIT. Actually, it's Robert Johnson, who owns BET, was actually the owner of RLJ, and RLJ right now I think is fifth or seventh largest hospitality REIT in the United States. Okay, so that's a bit about me, and that's the bit about the real estate investment trust, which we are calling the community REIT. It's for our community. Could you imagine? Could you imagine, Solomon, building 40,000 new black millionaires? Could you imagine that in 7 years? What would that do for our community, brother?
I'm just trying to picture it as you say it. I'm just trying to picture it. Imagine, which is very important. Imagine you turn around and this cousin is a millionaire. Imagine you turn around, that cousin is a millionaire. Imagine you turn around, this friend, that family member, this person, that person. It puts us in a position where we can grow easily because we have access to capital. We have access to so much. You know, it may not seem like it because a lot of people are not exposed, or we're not exposed to that type of information and also that type of money. But that type of money, being a millionaire, it opens a lot of doors that we can walk right into, and people can tell that you have that type of money the way that we invest and the way that we carry ourselves.
That's right.
We can't carry ourselves a certain type of way because we don't have anything. We don't the money we don't have, land we don't have, nothing we have.
That's right.
We can't speak on anything.
That's right.
And I did have a question while you were, talking about the community read and how you got into it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about our community that we struggle with is trust.
Yes.
You know, most people, most people in our community, they're very skeptical about things. So I do want to ask. I took down a couple questions, just to point them out, see what your takes. What, I kind of wanted to know, how does the structure of the community read allow the everyday person to participate in a large scale investing, like this one?
That's a good question, brother. First of all, the point of entry is $500. Okay, I say this and I don't say this lightly because even $500, even though it's not a lot of money, it's valuable to more people than it is less people. Okay, and it's your money, but it's an opportunity for someone who never would have been able to involve themselves in something like this to involve themselves. You heard me on a conversation last night, Solomon, where I was talking about ExxonMobil. Believe it or not, stockholders in ExxonMobil, all the major stockholders. Do you know how many stockholders are there? 7,500. 7,500 stockholders. So and most of those are family house owners. Okay, that family houses, if you don't know it, are wealthy family groups that get together and pool their money and create a bank or REIT and invest in large companies. Okay, initially invest in large companies. And so it allows somebody that is a regular person to invest in a large scale project. But more importantly, I'm glad you asked that question. Solomon knows how to ask questions. More importantly, it causes a trickle down effect, Solomon. Um, most of these companies in the United States started off with bonds. That's how they sold things, right? Um, and so what they would do is they would ask the regular person for a little money. And before you know it, these people became millionaires. I don't know if you remember Microsoft. Microsoft wasn't a didn't get a huge start. He started with a few people, right? Now eventually what happened is in the second tier, most of those people got bought out, but they still walked away millionaires. Okay. See, usually, guys, that doesn't happen intentionally. It usually happens as a landmark thing, like an oil and gas company like ExxonMobil or a Microsoft or an Apple, right? And then they're bought out. It is my goal, potentially for you guys in the third round, to be bought out, right? And you say, okay, well, Mr. Reed, this isn't a landmark. It is not a landmark, but a community REIT is so commonly successful. And what do I mean by that? America exists based on community REITs. Is that right? I know. Look, Solomon's a PhD, so I know he studied this. Everything you see when you go downtown Houston, when you talk about Hines Development, when you talk about all these different development companies, when you talk about the housing, when you see new subdivisions built, all that's the same thing. It's someone with land that leases the land maybe for $1 to what is called a developer who has a relationship with construction, design, and the bank. And because he has the land and the land qualifies as a financial asset, he can get a loan for that land. And he didn't have to put up a dime but $1. Now you have to pay something. That's just the law. That's a legal law, right? But many of these deals are done by friends that one owns land, one owns a development company, and the other has a relationship with a bank or design firm or construction firm, or actually owns a construction firm. And so I said all that to say that it's a lot that most people won't see, which is why, Solomon, I don't know if this is your next question, but this is part of what I want to say. I took 6 months, and every Thursday we meet. Every Thursday we meet online. We have a Google Meet, where I have guests come on, some guest developers, some guest accountants that deal with development companies, some major contractors, different aspects, some are vice presidents in different aspects of construction. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have one of the largest, H.J. Russell. We're going to have the largest uh, construction company, black-owned construction company in the world. One of their vice presidents for Texas is going to come on. Uh, but all of this is to educate. So our community group is extremely educated when it comes to development. We've had people on for hours explaining stuff to them. So I hope that answers a bit of the question. If you have anything that I missed, Solomon, you feel free to have me expound.
Nope, that's perfect, perfect explanation. And I want to bring up. You said every Thursdays we have these meetings. If you can expound on that and let the people know how they can be a part of that meeting, and
Okay.
how they can, I know it's through Google Meets, and how they can submit their emails so they can receive all these notifications to be a part of it. Because this
Oh,
is a big thing. We want to have as much of our community get involved as possible.
exactly. What you guys can do is reach out to me at mega multi-trillionaire podcast at gmail.com. Send me an email, and what I'll do is I'll tag you in the group meeting on Thursdays. It is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, so you guys will know. Um, like I stated before, this week we'll have a guest on, and next week we'll have a guest on. So this Thursday coming, we'll have someone on, and then the following we'll have someone on as well. It is very educating. What I do in the meetings, since we have new people all the time, is I regurgitate the same information that lays out the basis of where we are. You can go on our website, www.thecommunityreit.com. And what Solomon has done, Solomon is responsible for the website. We have a board that runs all the marketing and website for us, right? They meet every Tuesday and they're responsible for that website. They identify SEC laws that we'll be following. They put the initial letter of intent, which everybody I think should read, because the letter of intent is going to turn in a contract to all the stockholders. What else is up there, Solomon?
The NDA, we also have an NDA
Right.
on the website, and
Non-disclosure.
I think it's also important. Yep, I think it's
Yeah,
important that
non-disclosure, very
you kind
important
of,
because
yep,
you really can't be a part of that's just part of the legal process of being a part of a company that's gonna follow all the SEC rules. Everybody has to be responsible for what they do, right? So we want to make certain that every step to where we are right now with nothing in the bank to $20 million in the bank, everyone is on the same page, right? And everyone has the same level of responsibility. We can't have people going out and communicating about stuff that is it is progressive. Okay. So if you wanted to know why people in situations like this, specifically startups, sign NDAs, because you don't want to go giving half information. You have to be careful, right? I had something else I was about to say, but I forgot it. You got anything else, Solomon? I know you have some more questions.
yep. I do have one question. I think this one's gonna be very important for me to ask. I want to say with your 30 plus years in the game, I know you've seen it all. You've gotten to experience the good, the bad, the ugly that comes with it. So I kind of want to ask, what are some of the common misconceptions that people have when they hear about collective investing or more so real estate funds like the community REIT? Like what are
That's,
some misconceptions that people may have?
that's a good question. You set me up perfect right there, brother. The misconception is their perspective comes from a real place. I guess that's not a misconception, but I guess it's a reality conception because most people don't have the real experience doing what they're talking about. And I need to explain to people uh, experience doesn't mean even you having done something, right? It means that you've seen it done and it was a part of a process you went through. Okay. I've seen so many projects built, so many land purchases done, so many relationships cultivated, so many strategic relationships that I understand how not to miss critical aspects of building a company or building a project, which is the same thing. The only difference between a project and a company is how many, and a portfolio is how many projects are in the portfolio. Now, that being said, I think it's very important, and I think this is what Solomon is getting at. It's very important that the person that is leading an investment uh, communicate to the people investing that it's not his money. I think that's very important, Solomon.
Yeah.
And you know that I've screamed that from the mountaintops. The most honest person will misappropriate money if he's not accustomed to handling money. Do you understand? So I've screamed
Yeah.
from our rooftop. People have asked me to be the CEO. I have no interest in being a CEO. I have never been a CEO of a $3.7 billion development company, and I never want to be. Okay. So what we do is, first of all, we educate, educate, educate. We had one of the top accounting firm controllers in the U.S. and specifically in Houston come on and discuss with us for hours what the process will be. Let me give you an example in a simple layout because I want a few things I want to discuss before we get off. But I'm glad Solomon brought this up. What's going to happen is this: in one day, we're going to raise $20 million. That sounds exciting, but here's the bad part about it: this isn't church. Okay, we're not a 503c. We are a profit company. So a profit company has to have processes. 503c don't. You just give him the money, and whatever he does with it, whatever he tell you to do with it, he do with it. He's not responsible for taxes, any of that stuff. But us, we are. So this is what happens. We need to tell you the entire process. When the money comes in, you won't be paying me. You won't be paying Solomon. You won't be paying the community REIT. You'll be paying an accounting firm that has an LLC that is all of ours. Every stockholder will be a part of that LLC. That LLC is the bank. When it goes to the accounting firm, not Mr. Reed, not anyone else, the accounting firm will have a process that will write in the contract you'll have to sign. That process will show you all the procedures that the accounting firm will go through to account for the money. They're insured to do what they do, right? The accounting firm will have a relationship with a bank. What do I mean by relationship? They may know them, they may not know them, but the relationship is to turn over the money to the bank. That bank then, over a period of time, it customarily takes about 4 weeks, will approve that money and give us a $20 million, 20 big, excuse me, I'm gonna get it right sooner or later, $200 million line of credit. Okay. Not I am not over in authority of that money. The accounting firm is not in authority of the money, neither is the bank. Now, here's what will be in the contract that you'll sign. There'll be a board. Solomon is a part of the board. I'm a part of the board. And we have to hire 3 other members of the board. Okay. That board still is not in control of your money. Okay. Your money sits in that trust. That's why they call it a trust. In that document, one company, incorporation, will send the money to another corporation. Simple as that. This corporation will have a $200 million line of credit. Okay. Once that's set up, we will start recruiting a CEO and a CFO. Now, in every organization, every major organization, you have to have what's called a fiduciary. That fiduciary will be the CFO that we will hire, right? So you have 2 officers, and they'll be responsible for hiring whatever other officers they need. That's not our job. Once that, I'll have to say this, once that is set up, the what we call the preliminary board, which is me, Solomon, and 3 other people, will be disbanded. There'll be no other need for us. Now, I will be on the permanent board because I'll be a major stockholder. But the 4 other members will be, we don't need to talk about them, but they'll be professionals from other places. Okay? That being said, the only ones the only person that can qualify and move your money is the fiduciary, which will be the CFO. And the only person that can make decisions about the money is the CEO. Okay? All of that will be in your contract. When the board is together, the corporate board, which I'll be a part of, when the corporate board is together, the corporate board is there in place to make certain that the decisions that the CFO and the CEO are making gel with the contract that you sign. Because within the contract also will be the types of projects. In other words, how we want the REIT to function and what we want it to accomplish. See, a company is set up to accomplish a certain thing. Okay. So you may think the accomplishment will be becoming a $3.7 billion company. That is not that is an accomplishment. But what will be written in the contract is the procedures and processes they go to arrive at the milestones that we, the board, and specifically myself initially, because I'm the proxy, are putting in that contract. Now, Solomon, did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. I'm really glad that you went into,
Well,
great
you know
details to
me.
make sure that's understood. I,
You know me.
you know, I had to ask. I don't want somebody
Yeah,
watching to think, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to give them $500 and
yeah,
they're gonna be
no, you
playing
know
games
me.
today. I call them, they don't answer. I had to make sure all of that is laid out so that people understand that, hey, once you give your money, Mr. Reed is not, it's not going to his personal account.
Right.
It's not coming to me. It's not going to
So
nobody.
we're
It's
stockholders just like
going to the
y'all.
structure.
We're
Yeah.
stockholders just like y'all. Now I will say I am a major stockholder. I need to let that out. But for the reason I'm the major, first of all, I'm the proxy. I'm putting it all together. But the other part of it is I'm the only one that understands the tool that is the REIT. So I'm gonna stand in there for y'all. Like, okay, hold on. There, and let me expound on this one too. There are aspects to corporate America that if you don't understand them, you can be circumvented. Okay. So what I'm doing at this particular moment, I'm I'm putting together the framework of a contract that will allow a lawyer to protect us.
Yeah.
But everything that I just told you guys came out of me. Solomon will tell you everything that's happened come out of me. Solomon puts it on online, but it comes out of me. It's my experiences, all the stuff that I've been through, right? All the things and also I have great mentors uh, that I can speak to about things too, right? Some of the top hospitality developers in the world, okay? And I'm not exaggerating. Now, um, there has to be safeguards that guard you from me, you from the board, and also so that the CFO and the CEO can't do anything shady. Now,
Correct.
you guys need to understand this. Most mistakes that are done in corporate America are truly mistakes. Some people do because look, the laws in business change all the time, like all the time. The laws, the SEC laws change all the time. So you got to have us watching the CEO and CFO, the CFO and CEO watching us, and then you got to have the fiduciary because that's two jobs. The CFO and the fiduciary, in this instance, are the same the same person. And I did this for a reason because I want him to be responsible for his responsibility. If that makes sense to anybody, okay? If you don't understand what a fiduciary is, please look it up. It's very important, and it's not always the CFO, but in this instance, it is. So I wanted to say that we're going to end this, but I'll say this: we're going to be here. You're going to get a podcast from us. We're going to start posting it every Wednesday. Okay, but I'll say this: um, this is about the community read, but that's not all we're going to talk about. I know you guys love to hear, and you've never heard me with Solomon. We're going to talk about the evolution of the Black person or people. Um, I'm writing a book called "From Poverty to Purpose." I, I ask you all to get it because I've never been so amazed in what God has brought out of me and even the fact that He even had that in me was amazing. Every time I read it, it blows my mind, and I'm writing it. I mean, it's all the information, all the lessons, all the understanding. It's we're not trying to individuate Black people. We're trying to coalesce. We're already individuals. We do nothing together. And we're always quick to say, we always say this. Well, we're not all brothers. We're not all this, that, and the other. Okay. It's amazing that other groups don't have to say that, but yet they still
Correct.
think coalescively. They think monolithically. Why? Because they have a plan. Now we have a plan, the community REIT. Now let's put that strategy together. But first, we got to fix y'all. And we're going to fix y'all along with fixing ourselves because we not perfect either. Right?
Correct.
So
That's
we're going
right.
to talk about several things. Casey's going to be here next time. We're going to talk about several things. So don't come on always thinking we talking about the REIT and talking about real estate development. Don't think we're always talking about that. We'll talk about that a lot. But we're also going to talk about the Spirit. We're going to talk about the Holy Spirit. We're going to talk about, I say that aloud because without the Holy Spirit, Mr. Reed wouldn't be here. We're going to talk about
Yep.
things that you need to understand. We're going to talk about our situation in the world politically. We're going to talk about shutting up, being quiet, moving strategically, but moving quietly. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So I look forward to you joining us every Wednesday to listen to what we have to say on the community read. Close us out, Mr. Solomon.
Yes, sir. And I always do want to ask, well, I do want to add that this podcast is going to be up on YouTube. So, drop a like, a comment, subscribe, whatever you like about the podcast. Just let us know in the comments. If you have ideas of what you want us to talk about, drop it in the comments. Like Mr. Reed has mentioned, we have a plethora of things that we're going to be covering. One of the key things that I'm going to be advocating for and I'm excited for is the psychological aspects of the black person. And I want us to really touch on that because I know a lot of people are waiting to get to hear how we can grow as black people. So I'm happy that we got this started. Again, do not forget to reach out to Mr. Reed. And Mr. Reed, could you put out the information on how they can get a hold of you again? We'll put all that
You
in the
can,
description of the video.
okay, you can reach me at mega multi-trillionaire podcast at gmail.com. That's where you can reach me. And like I
All
said,
right,
next week
sounds
Casey will
good.
be on
And
with us. So yeah, so it's going to be great. Tune in to us. Have a good evening.